When I was 19, it was fine. Sometimes I felt superior to others because I got an offer from good school in Seoul. When I was 23, I got a job in small company. Some of my friends kept studying, some of them got a job in a major company, some of them failed. It was still fine. I found my first job even before my graduation. I thought it was a good first step. 2.5 years later, I became empty. I became a person who can't think creative, can't speak what I want. All life in these 2 years was working for 12 hours a day on weekdays and drinking until I can't remember anything on weekends. I couldn't remember what I liked much. When I was 25, I felt like ending everything. I felt failed. I didn't know what I'm doing, what I like, and what I want to do, and what I can do. Meanwhile, my friends got professional jobs and looked successful. I felt it's too late to start something. I didn't have time to know who I am, too busy thinking about what they think of me. In my diary for a long time, it was full of, I don't want to live like this, my worry about my career, and eventually it became, I want to end everything. And one day I wrote, if I don't want to live anymore, why do I worry about my career? So I decided to quit my job and go for a trip. After the trip, I felt better. I wanted to live better, but I have lost confidence to start everything again in Korea. I felt it's hard to be in the same timeline with others, like find a job at this age, get married at this age, give a birth before a specific age, so on. So I decided to try to live abroad. I needed somewhere that I don't need to compare myself with others. That's why I'm here. I came here to challenge myself, to find myself. The best thing is, I don't need to be conscious of others that much like in Korea. I learned how to not worry about how others think of me.
I grew up in Mexico to parents who were both doctors, but they didn't understand me. They very religious, traditional. They didn't ever want to talk to me about what was going on. They felt I was a mistake. As a child, they found me dressing up in my mother's clothes and using her makeup. They told me that it was wrong, that I was a man and shouldn't do this. That made me feel bad about who I was. At school, a teacher found me kissing another boy and called my mother. My mother slapped me. I was 6 years old at the time. It really hurts when your mother says that if she had a gay kid, she would prefer to kill him. So I chose to hide who I was from them. I left home. I got good grades at school and got a scholarship to go to university. I studied medicine and mathematics. I had a good job with the government doing computers networking. I was working for a governor who was very kind to me and accepted me as a woman. I started a relationship with his son, but we had to hide from his family because they would never accept it. Eventually, I broke up with him, and it was messy. A few months later, his mother had an accident and needed blood. They tested their son's blood, and it turned out he had HIV. He was still mad at me for breaking up with him, so he lied and said I infected him. but I knew it wasn't me. I don't have HIV. The family was very angry with me, and my ex wanted me to suffer. It was easier for them to get mad at me than to accept the truth about their son. The governor was powerful, so I was fired. I couldn't find a job anywhere. They sent someone to beat me up and ended up in the hospital for a week. I needed to leave the country. I came to Canada because they would accept my immigration application. Here, I feel safe. I've never been back. I haven't seen my family. It's too dangerous, and I don't want to return. I left my friends, career, my apartment, everything for the safety. I struggle in Canada to find work in my field. If I want a job, they always ask me, "Do you have experience working in Canada? Do you speak English?" I say, "A little bit." Then they immediately shoot me down. But I prefer it here because I can be who I am and not fear for my life.
Axé. I was born in a small Brazilian town called Camaragibe. My father was a musician and activist who fought for workers' rights against the government. When I was 9 years old, they murdered him. I didn't really understand why, but I began to see another part of real life and began to search for answers. After a longer journey, I discovered that I am a trans woman and I had to leave my mother's house because I wasn't accepted there as a person who I am. I was living and working on the streets, trying to survive, and eventually on NGO called GTP+, that work with people living with HIV and AIDS, came and spoke to some of girls. They explained that anyone could have rights to family, education, work, job, and dreams. So I got off the streets and I went to university. I worked hard and got a good education and felt like I was a good place. I became in social work and became activist like my father had been. I worked as a volunteer for this NGO that saved me. And through them I began working in prison. I focused on the trans woman because I was able to understand the systemic reason of why they were there, making me the only trans woman in the world to do this work. The UN recognized my work and my story was known around the world. But the government hated me because they didn't intend to guarantee human rights. During one of these prison visits, a policeman attacked me and chased me to the point of having to leave Brazil. And I came to my new country, Canada. My first days in this new world, I was afraid of having to go back to Brazil. For not speaking any English, I stayed in the shelter where people started telling me about Canada and that it would be safe here. They said that I could go a language school I immediately had access to doctor, social project, advocate for process of refugee and peace, much peace. To restart life after almost 40 years for a black trans woman in a country with the power of Canada, thank you is real too little. A year later, I can say that I can reach the moon, so I want to contribute with all my experience and strength to the Canada that I really learned to love. Today I can dream again.
I'm sitting on the plane, leaving behind the place where I grew up, where I lived the most beautiful and ugliest moment of my life. The country that taught me that people can be horrendous, that simply thinking or having different tastes, they attack you and discriminate against you. I live in behind a country where if I hold hands with my partner, people look at ugly, yell at you, insult and beat you. I on my way to start a new adventure, to fulfill my dreams of living in a better place and where I feel safe. This moment in my life is very exciting, but I have many questions, and although I don't know what will happen, the whole situation has me very intrigued and excited. I leave behind people who love me, family and friends, but I am excited. I don't want to look back. Life is changing me 100%, even though I'm not aware of this yet. I have learned the importance of living by myself and that every day is an adventure. Despite thinking that when arriving in a developed country, I will feel safe and that I will never feel attacked or discriminated against again for being different. This time the discrimination was not because of my sexual orientation, but because I spoke another language. People ask you to stop talking or simply tell you to return to your country and mother expletives. I am changing my direction. I am beginning to live new adventure. I thought that these adventures could be the most perfect in the world, but I have lived very difficult moments which have helped me grow and realize that life continues and that you are the writer of your own history. I know that nothing will stop me in my goal and that every time I look back, I will see how far I have come and I will have more desire to move on and I will not return to the place where I left. I chose to move on and be able to continue with my life, which has had many changes and is finally in the safe place.
My father was an important politician in Mexico, and life wasn't always safe for me. I was forced to leave suddenly and quickly. I took my son, I went to the airport. We just needed to get out, on any flight that we could get on. My son suggested Costa Rica, but we couldn't get a flight that the same day. So we start to ask at all the ticket content. And in the end, Air Canada said they could put us on the flight to Toronto. I didn't care where. They chose. Most important was to just get out of Mexico. So we landed in Toronto. I never knew anything about Canada. We didn't bring money. We didn't bring a suitcase. Nothing. Just our passports. We got off the airplane and thought, what do I do now? I am in the strange country. I don't speak the language. I didn't know anyone. Nothing. A stranger came up to me and asked me if I had seen his friend on my plane. He spoke Spanish, so I asked him for help. He asked me, "What do you need?" "I need a place to sleep tonight." He offered me to stay at his home for the night. But when he saw my son, he said, "But I am gay. Will that be a problem?" "But not for me. I don't care. And neither does my son." So he took us in. He helped us. After that, he brought us to the OLA, a group that supports the Latin LGBTQ community. We weren't part of the community, but they still help us. So when I had no one else to help me, this community, which I didn't know and wasn't a part of, opened their arms to me and my son and helped us with everything we need to settle in Canada. I am so grateful to them. They are my family.
Soy una mexicana de 32 años que no pelea públicamente por los derechos humanos coherentes, pero siempre estará al pendiente de ello. Quiero transmitir un mensaje para todos aquellos que dejan escapar el amor real por el simple hecho de cumplir compromisos sociales o patrones que nos han venido vendiendo desde hace siglos. Cuando la gente me pregunta, ¿cuándo te casarás y tendrás hijos? Mi respuesta, no dejes que los que han sido domesticados te digan cómo vivir. Mi vida ha sido muy complicada, desde perder a mi padre cuando tenía 1 año y 8 meses de edad, tener una madre con ideologías diferentes, vivir en una familia desunida y sobre todo vivir en un país donde la mayoría de la gente dice tienes que nacer, crecer, reproducir y morir. Pero entonces, como soy complicada, rebelde, analítica, celosa y enamorada, no sigo esas reglas e instrucciones de la gente. He tomado un rumbo distinto, un rumbo que me ha hecho más consciente, más madura, más sensible, pero sobre todo más fuerte, mucho más fuerte. Tratando de ayudar e inspirar a la gente que me lo permita, mostrándole que la vida real está llena de obstáculos y problemas. Pero amar y amarse facilita ese camino, que no te inclina a todo lo malo ni a todo lo bueno, y recalcando valores que podrían ayudar un poco, como respeto, valentía, humildad, honestidad y paz. No te enamores de las apariencias, de un cuerpo bonito, porque cuerpos hay por todos lados, y yo me he enamorado de sus ojos que hablan, de su boca que piensa, de sus manos que me piden y me dan, de su piel morena, de sus lunares, de su mente que me excita. Dirán que soy rara o estoy loca, porque no me gusta lo fácil y solo me atrae lo complicado.
Loving strangers, loving strangers, loving strangers are. Loving strangers, loving strangers, loving strangers are. I've got a heart in my pocket.
After the war started, people began acting wild. I hid in the washroom for 3 days when people were shooting each other because the washroom had no windows and it was the safest place to be. I escaped Syria with only a bag on my back, leaving behind my boyfriend, my job, my car, and my apartment. I flew into Dubai not knowing what the next chapter would be. After 5 years in Dubai and Egypt, countries where I experienced homophobia, homelessness, and uncertainty, I was lost. I didn't know where to go or what to do. I applied through the UN and came to Canada where I began a new life. But my journey to get here created 4 monsters on my shoulders: anxiety, depression, ADHD, and PTSD. They are screaming out loud in my head, controlling me like a puppet. I feel like I always have to be doing something. When I'm silent, my brain is working so much to the level that make me exhausted. I feel embarrassed how my fingers are bleeding most of the time because I can't stop biting them. I think of my apartment back home before the war and how stable my life was. Today, I still don't feel safe. I still worry people around me might hurt me or make fun of me. I'm so mad that I don't have control of my own body. But I will not let those monsters stop me. Beyond all of these challenges and all these negative experiences, I know I'm still in a better place. I'm in Canada, where I can see my therapist for free and I can express myself and be as gay as I want. I have met a person who became my partner, and he always makes me feel beautiful, loved, and stronger. My name is Salem, and I live with 4 mental health monsters, but I will not stop fighting, and I will keep smiling. I'm living my truth, and I'm doing the best that I can.